It's always been there. My parents met at a civil rights rally back in the 70s. I had a very militant father. He always gave me a real perspective, which is unique, unfortunately, because he always told me how racist America was. My mother was the same, but she was a little softer with her messaging. My father would tell me things like how he hated Elvis Presley and John Wayne because they were outright racist. I remember the movie Top Gun, which was this great movie about fighter pilots. And I said, Dad, I want to go in the Air Force and fight and fly planes. He said, you go into that white man's army and you'll mop the decks that the planes take off from. Now my family's very patriotic. My family loves America. They recognize the racism in America. So Trayvon Martin, it's always been there.
Yeah.
I've always worked in my community. I started a basketball program which helped send 100 kids who were in the Department of Probations, some were first generation immigrants, like really poor kids, and I combined them with really wealthy families, children of wealthy families, affluent communities in Westchester. So I had this huge cultural exchange on my team, and it brought everybody together. And we sent over 100 kids away to scholarships, with scholarships to colleges and prep school. These were kids who may have made mistakes. The statistics and the numbers were definitely against them, but we helped them. We helped them. So I've always been active. I've always spoke out. When Trayvon Martin happened, I started rallying in my law school. I went to 2 law schools, Touro, which is historically Jewish, and Howard University School of Law in Washington, D.C., which is as black as it gets. It's like that. You heard the Ivy League, it's like the Ebony League. And I was at Touro when this happened. And at Touro, I just rallied, because everybody was doing like the hoodies up for justice. So I had a hoodies protest, like I guess a demonstration, and I had students come out, faculty. There was even like an 80-year-old judge who came out and put his hoodie on for Trayvon Martin. So that was like me organizing, you know. We marched, went down to, there was a big protest with Jay-Z, Beyonce, some huge civil rights leaders and politicians. And I got there and it was like ending and everyone was standing around taking pictures and I was like, what, we're not marching? I had a few people with me. I was running for city council, I had my staff with me. So the right thing to do, my campaign manager wanted me to stay and take pictures with everybody. But I wanted to march and shut shit down for the people. So I took my team, I saw 4 guys marching with a banner. I was like, let's march, let's take the Brooklyn Bridge. We started out, not even 10 of us. By the time we get to the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge, there's 20 police scooters in front of us. There's helicopters. There's cops on foot next to us. I'm pumping my fist in the air. I turn around. It's like 3,000 people on the Brooklyn Bridge. The next morning I wake up, it was like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Al Sharpton, and then a huge picture of me with a banner and my fist up. So.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess it was like, you know, it's my calling, you know? It's my calling. I really feel like this is God's plan for my life. To fight for the people, to fight for the oppressed, to try and liberate black people. Bell was out hanging out at a bar the night before his wedding. Off-duty cops were in the same bar drinking. They exchanged words on a personal level, not on a cop to criminal level, but on a personal level, and the cops chased them to their car. Followed them to their car, and they said they pulled a weapon, even though there were no weapons found. They shot Sean Bell 50 times. They shot his friends. One of his friends was shot in the back. They were in a car. A cop was standing in front of the car. Other cops, just a barrage of bullets. Sean Bell died. I work with his wife now, but that was my first march. And I said, okay, if they want to march, don't march in the ghetto. If they want to shut down Fifth Avenue, I'll be there for that. And then it was like, someone heard me. A day later, they said, we're marching down Fifth Avenue, so I had to get out there. I think Trayvon was a bigger case along the lines of Sean Bell, and that kind of started the new generation of activists. But with Eric Garner, Michael Brown, and these cell phone videos, I think technology is what really kicked this movement into another gear. People can see it now. Now the media couldn't filter it. You didn't have to wait for evidence. Now people were seeing these murders occur. And I didn't say killings, I said murders. Like, there's no self-defense element. There's no justification for the way blacks are being killed out here. These murders, now you can watch them on your cell phone. And everything's publicized. The news is not our filter anymore. We provide our own news. I get most of my news updates from my timeline on Instagram, on Facebook. Black women account for 7% of the population, but 35% of the women that are missing. And we want to raise awareness. So how do we do this? We promote it on social media. I believe a lot of that has to do with the media. Their names, their campaigns like Say Her Name, right? So you have people like Sandra Bland, but most important to me, Deborah Danner, which was a 66-year-old woman who was killed in her home. She was schizophrenic, mentally ill, and a cop came into her house and said she picked up a bat and he shot her. Now his rules, the patrolman's guide says that he should have waited outside the house for emergency services. Emergency services were 3 blocks away. He could have waited. His patrolman's guidebook says that he should have used a taser. He didn't use his taser. He shot that woman dead in her home like a dog because he could get away with it. Now get this, that cop was found guilty of misconduct or police brutality and 2 other civil suits. I spoke with the lawyer who sued him in both cases, and this man still had a job, right? So Deborah Danner, we fight for. We stood outside in the rain, in the cold, in the snow, every day until the grand jury said that until the Bronx District Attorney said that she would convene the grand jury to investigate this killing. So my thing was like, okay, we're out here, we're letting the people know. We're letting the people know what's happening. And if you sell us out, we're gonna vote you out. Or what we'll do is, we just open the public's eyes. It's not even about us telling people how to vote. We just open their eyes with information, passionate speech, engagement, and let them see, like, this is what's happening. These are the people in this. Who do you think best fits your needs? Who do you think best suits your needs? And people will come to the obvious conclusion that these sellouts are not there for them. These people are puppets of the oppressor. A lot of these elected officials work for the establishment. The same folks we vote for out of our community put us in the office, get elected, and work for the same people who oppress us. That's the reality of it. Steps made for immigrants under his administration, even though he did deport more immigrants than any president before him. There were a lot of strides made for a lot of people, but black people were kind of left last. I call it Jim Crow politics. So we vote first. Black people came out and voted for him in alarming numbers, but our needs were left last. Some of our needs weren't met. If you think about the whole Black Lives Matter movement, that came in under his administration. He took office after 2008. Trayvon Martin happened a couple of years later. Then you had Eric Garner, Mike Brown, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, and even Walter Scott, which might have been the most visible case of police brutality, excessive force, of murder. Let's call it what they are. A cop murdered Walter Scott as he was running, and President Obama's Justice Department couldn't secure an indictment, so that was hard. I mean, it wasn't hard, it was politics as usual. And unfortunately, black people thought we would see a better day under President Obama, but First of all, we're not thugs. No one should use the word thug when they're referring to black people, because that's the new way of saying nigger, right? Instead of saying nigger, people say thugs. So when you look at Black Lives Matter of Greater New York, on my board, there are 4 of us. One woman has 2 master's degrees. Another went to Smith, which is an Ivy League school. We have another woman on my board who graduated from the Kennedy School of Business, which is Harvard, okay? I have a law degree. So when you're talking about Black Lives Matter and you say thugs, uneducated people without jobs, you are absolutely wrong. Like, we are well equipped, we're strategic, and we're fighting for what's right, you know? This movement is condemned. You've had people call us terrorists, but they call Martin Luther King a terrorist. They call him a communist, right? Yeah. And the FBI, CEA were all over guys like Martin Luther King. So no matter how we fight, we're always villainized because America just doesn't want to give us what's due. Like, this country was founded. Like, the foundation of this country was the soil that this country was founded on was fertilized by the blood of black people. And it's just a fact. Like, our free labor, our slave labor made America what it is. And we sit here and ask for equal rights in a country that we built, and people have a problem with it. They have a problem with us standing up and fighting. Why is that? Like, people are complacent. People are happy with racism and the way it works against black people. I guess a lot of white America looks back and says, better you than me. And if you ask, like, why, if they care, don't they stand up? Like, regular citizens, if they care, why don't they stand up? That's the same question I ask. Because if you see something's wrong, you do something about it. Don't just diminish our argument and say, hey, you have equal opportunity, when every statistic that you find indicates otherwise, right? Yeah. Like, if you look at it and you say, well, racism doesn't exist, that's an opinion, but logic, facts indicate otherwise, that racism is alive. And now under the Trump administration, it's not even concealed anymore. People are just outright racist. Hate crimes are up. It's terrible. Right? It's terrible. Well, I come from the school of Malcolm X, right? Which is, I guess you could call Malik al-Hajj al-Sabaz. And that's Malcolm X after his pilgrimage to Mecca. And after he came back from Mecca, he didn't have a problem with anyone because of their race. He had a problem with oppression. However, he stayed true to his philosophy that was based in self-defense. Why should you stand there and allow people to victimize you, to brutalize other folks just because of the color of their skin? Why should you, even a police officer, right? And I'm not encouraging people to break the law, but should you just stand there and let somebody choke you to death? Eric Garner said, I can't breathe 11 times. He wasn't doing anything. He had his hands up while someone was choking the life out of him. I think he should have defended himself. At least he would have died fighting. The biggest difference is in the civil rights movement then and now. I think more people were willing to stand up and fight for themselves. I think over the last few decades, people have grown complacent. Like, they have better jobs. Is it equal? No. They have better jobs, they have more money, they have more opportunities. So they don't really see it as see this movement as something they have to be a part of because we're doing a little better. But they might be scared. I would like to see more people get involved and get out in the streets. What we have that's different now is we have more educated folks in the movement, just because there's more opportunities to be educated. We have a lot of passionate folks. We have the ability to build stronger networks through social media. So I can reach out to a Black Lives Matter organization or another civil rights, criminal justice reform type organization like that. I can send them a tweet. I can hit them on Instagram, Facebook. Like, communications are definitely easier. It's easier to access people. You have more of an ability for people to take stands and have their stand amplified. There's definitely more access to messaging things of that nature. So I think we've made progress. We have more weapons to fight with. But I'd like to see the passion that I saw back then. I think the police were definitely more aggressive back then. Like you see the fire hoses and the dogs. But at the same time, they're harming us. I was arrested for protesting peacefully. I have no feeling on the outside of my hand. My hands are numb. I have herniated discs in my neck and in my back because the police arrested me for protesting peacefully. Was I the leader of the march? No. But I have status, I guess, as a leader in this movement. So they thought if they arrested me, then they could, they thought that if they arrested me, then the rest of the crowd would disperse. I wasn't the leader of that march, right? So they arrested me, and I felt someone grabbing at my foot. And I said, you don't have to do that. I'm not arresting. I'm not resisting. Don't throw me on the ground. And they still slammed me on my chest. On the ice. It's February. It was snow on the ground. It was ice. Slammed me on the concrete with my hands behind my back. Nothing to shield my face. Nothing to shield myself. And then put their weight like on my back. So now I'm in pain consistently in my back. I have no feeling in my hands, and they don't care. I had handcuffs on too tight, and it's documented. This is documented. And I said, I can't feel my fingers, like, these are too tight. And the cop said, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, if you look right here, that mark right here is from handcuffs. I mean, it's not the biggest cut in the world, but still, it's a cut.
Still, yeah.
It's 2 months later, and I still have the scar. So, I mean, that's just the way they treat us. That's the way they treat us. They don't care about us. In America, a dog will have more justice than a black man or a woman that's killed. They sent Michael Vick away to jail for years for mistreating dogs, but black people get killed in the streets on camera, and nothing happens to these police officers. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This movement is about black liberation. It's about liberating black people from oppression. And we'll get what we desire, we'll win. Why? Because God is on the side of the oppressed. And 2, we will win by any means necessary.